Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again, and we are now going to finally react to this Chris Tenerife video. I do apologize for bringing this one to you late, but better late than never, right? Let's check this out. I do apologize. I've got internet problems at this moment in time, so I hope I can get through this. But I do want to big up Chris for the work that he has done on the Jay Slater case. Me and Chris shared a few comments a couple of days ago on a video, and honestly, I've never had anything against Chris. Although I have respect for Chris and the work that he has done for the Jay Slater case, the people that he has been around and the things that he has done has made me question him. I haven't even said anything bad about his side chick, but his side chick was always making videos about me. In fact, he was saying things like, oh, yeah, you rented your Range Rover for your video. This is how you can prove these people are embarrassing. I never said one thing bad about this guy, but he wanted to make a number of different videos about me. But anyway, look, I have nothing against these guys. I think Chris has been probably the most sensible one out of them all. I think Chris has been the least trolly one of them all. It's the reason why I always gave him credit for the work that he done. But what never made sense to me, the Airbnb situation and the moment that Jay left the NRG festival. If you look at those two parts of the story, they are extremely scrambled. And it seems like everyone's giving alibis to each other. No one's given an alibi to Brandon because Brandon's not even involved in the story, even though he was the last person to be seen with Jay, technically, based on the footage. But he's not even involved in the story, so he doesn't need an alibi. But everyone that's involved in the story has an alibi. And they point fingers to Jay as if Jay was the problem. Jay's the one that wasn't listening. Jay was out of control. He decided to leave the Airbnb. The Airbnb story and what took place at the Airbnb doesn't make sense. The same can be said when Jay left the NRG and approached Ayub to go to the mountains. It makes no sense why Jay would have done that. And we have no actual proof that Jay and Ayub were together at that point. Not even Jay walking to the car with Ayub. Not even Ayub and Jay or the friends all together sitting outside the NRG festival. People that have unfortunately lost their life at the carnival, been unalived at the carnival, thousands and thousands upon people at that carnival, and those people have been caught. They've been caught, and you're telling me there's no CCTV evidence to show us that Jay, Ayub, and the crew were together after the NRG festival, just walking along, maybe going to the car, going to the shop, chilling, figuring out what they were going to do, just like Mark Thomas claims they done. We've just got to take the statement from Ayub, Lucy, and Bradley and just take it as fact and gospel and ask no more questions. That's what they're telling us. Oh yeah, and I forgot Ophelia as well, because Ophelia, as you guys know, she is the glue that holds the narrative together. If they never had Ophelia saying that she see him walking that way, these guys would have been pissed, because within a space of a week, 2 weeks, if they hadn't found the body, they would have had to turn to these guys and put intense pressure on them. But with Ophelia saying, no, I actually see him, and then I see him 15 minutes later, that completely eliminates any foul play from the police's perspective.
Got in the car. However many people were in the car, we don't know. The only people that know the answer to that question were the people in the car.
So was it just Jay, Ayub, and Rocky in the car, or were there more than just Jay, Ayub, and Rocky in that car? Because there are some people that believe there was another person in the car. And there are also some people who believe that another car turned up to the Airbnb at 7:30 or 7 o'clock, 7:30, around that time. I'm not too sure what time it was, but another car turned up to the Airbnb at that point. Allegedly, someone got out, was in the Airbnb for about half an hour, then they left. I don't know how true that is, but that's what's being said.
I believe Mr. Ayub has said he's got video footage of who was in the car and the
but he hasn't released the video footage, and he's not releasing it. Why would he not release it? He tried to par us off with audio footage. Why would you release audio footage claiming it to be Jay, but then you wouldn't release visual footage, which then literally stops all of this? It eliminates Ayub. It stops Ayub from being that suspect. Ayub is trying to now deflect, call it racism, trying to talk about black suspects and this, that, the other. What are you talking about? If you have got evidence to prove that Jay was with you in the car and he was consciously there, vibing, talking, engaged with whatever you were doing, then show the footage.
Conversation that took place. So if he has that footage, one would assume the fact that Jay went missing, he was questioned by the Guardia Civil. he would have given a statement. Bear in mind, it's a criminal offence to give a false testimony. So let's just assume he's given a true statement. He would have disclosed everything. As with Brad was interviewed.
Absolutely. He would have disclosed that footage. And that's what Ayub claims he did. He showed the footage to the Spanish police. But then that footage doesn't prove that you and your crew didn't unalive Jay. Because it's not like they found Jay within 24 hours or 48 hours or within 3 days. If that was the process, then yeah, cool. But it took 29 days, and you're telling me not once within that 29 days, the police didn't look at Aya, Bradley, Lucy, and suspect them, put them in an interrogation room and really interrogate them. They just all went off of their life. Aya went back to the UK, Lucy went to Lanzarote, Brad and his mum flew back to the UK. Like everything was just normal, and we just left it as a missing persons case. And his body hadn't even been found yet. In fact, I'm going to do another video, which is Peter Bexley giving another opinion on this case. That video is extremely interesting. So you turn your notification bells on so you don't miss out on that.
Again, I just want to reiterate, our job and our role was one of helping with the search. Nothing to do with detective work and nothing to do with an investigation.
Exactly. And this as what has slightly bothered me. I congratulated and gave credit to Chris, but then I thought there's no point going any further, because if you haven't investigated what's going on between the friends and Ayub and everyone else, then you're no use to me, with all due respect. I want to talk and connect with people that are looking at the investigative side of this case. What happened after the NRG festival? What happened at the pit stop that Ayub claims? What actually happened at the Airbnb? Why did Jay leave in such a hurry? And why was no support or any assistance provided to Jay? Why was Jay the only one seen to be on drugs, on pills? Why was Jay seen to be the only one out of his face, even though he told his mum that he wasn't going to get levered that night? He told his mum that night that he wasn't going to get out of his face, but all of a sudden, out of all these group of friends, he's the one that's out of his face. I mean, he's out of his face to a point where he is on the verge of collapsing. So I don't understand how he got out of that festival, was rolling with Ayub and that for a little while, and decided to say to Ayub, yeah, I'm going to come all the way to the mountains with you. And when I get there, within a space of 45 minutes, I'm going to leave. But when I leave, I'm not even going to let Brad know. I'm not going to let Lucy know. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture before I leave with a blanket and a cigarette, a picture of a landscape, which Lucy's going to use later on to find where this Airbnb is. And I'm just going to wander off without letting them know. And then when I fall into a ditch and I'm cut by a cactus, that's when I'm going to phone Lucy and let her know that I'm lost. That is what you're asking me to buy into.
Never interviewed anyone surrounding the case. Our role simply was to take information that we either got from the public domain, was sent to us from people that tried to help us, or facts that had been corroborated, have been confirmed as true. So we took that information and we...
What facts could have been confirmed true?
That into a plan, and then we went to search. There are internet sleuths, and this is not a negative comment. A lot of the questions I asked early on, a lot of the questions that Warren Slater asked early on, and I didn't have any contact with Warren at this point. If you look at the videos now as they come out, both Warren and I are saying the same thing. We have the same questions way before it actually got picked up and it was on YouTube or anywhere else. I believe the video that Warren released on his TikTok account was shot around the time I was searching up there, and in fact Warren and I were searching on the same day, and we both said the same thing.
What, you think this is BS?
I've got video evidence. Warren's posted his video evidence, and later when Warren and I, and yes, I have sat down with Warren, I've sat down with Debbie and other members of the family shortly after we'd finished our job and the remains of Jay were found, and we had a very good conversation. It was a very difficult conversation, as you can imagine.
And I mean, look, after that conversation, Chris, he's put out a video, put a new caption on it, and said, "This is why I trust no one." I mean, if he knew the truth and he was happy with what he had been told, he wouldn't have put that video up there and put that caption.
It's not the situation where you want to meet people. Warren said some lovely things to me. We're two big boys, and Warren's, in my opinion, a man of the world. He can sift through, let's just say, the bullshit from the truth, which is a great thing. And it's a day I'll never forget. It's a conversation I'll never forget, and I'm really glad it happened. I didn't actually want to do it, but I'm glad I did. And Warren knows my character. He knows who I am as a person, for sure. And he knows that I'm there for him and his family.
I mean, look, Chris comes across like a really cool guy, but his approaches online have been a bit wild. The things that he has done online have been a bit wild, especially earlier on in the investigation. And, you know, that's what made me back away, because I was thinking, you know what, let me just sit back. Let me just observe. Let me see what's going on here. I started to get bombarded with loads of videos, loads of messages from Chris and from his sidekick or his side chick. Then his side chick starts getting worse. It starts really getting personal, wanting to get personal. I don't know what for, because I've never said anything bad about him whatsoever.
With regards to how it all came about, how did Jay end up where he was, and it really is best guess. You know, you guys out there, as well as us, we've only had the information that we found, researched and got to come up with our best guess. I didn't believe the boat theory. The boat theory's been debunked. So is the beach video, completely debunked.
There you go. And I eliminated them ages ago. The moment the boat theory come into play, I didn't take it seriously. I entertained the idea of it for a moment just to see if it would connect, but I instantly had to eliminate it. And the same with the beach. I don't know where that visual footage come from of all those people together. I've never seen it before. The only person that had it was one person. Like, I haven't seen anyone with that footage, like with bare people on the beach. But then there's so many different bits of footage of this beach situation. It's kind of like a couple of people. It looks like some people just standing in the water. And then you've got the other one when it looks like a group of people are having some sort of altercation, but you know, you can't tell who's who or what's what.
Talking like cybersecurity, police, intelligence, it's not real. So we can draw a line under that. First of all, the beach video, the camera, and I went down and recce'd it myself, and so did the British media. The camera is on a Chinese restaurant. The camera's fixed and it can't move. And if you look at that video, the video's moving, okay?
So, yeah, so someone's zooming in and out, making it look like the camera's moving, but it's not moving.
So that could be the same footage, but people are zooming in and out, and that actually makes it look and feel like it's moving. Secondly, there's no audio on that camera. So whatever audio people have heard, it's been put over the top, either by AI or people that know how to use the technology. Thirdly,
so when Lucy is basically calling out and saying Jay's been, it wasn't true. Someone has just literally put that on the video. That's what he's claiming. And we don't know. We don't know. This is all allegedly. We don't know how true this all is, but this is what he's saying. And if he's looked at the footage, and if the authorities have looked at that footage, and I can only assume they would have, man, how can they not be looking at the beach footage, especially when it is circulating the way it has been circulating online for the months and weeks that it has? Then, you know, they would have seen that something would have happened, and surely arrests would have been made. And that's another reason why the beach footage for me was eliminated. I didn't take the beach footage seriously.
The most important thing, Papagayo Beach Club is here. You've then literally got one road where all the police are and all the taxi ranks and the beach. So if you were going to commit a crime on that beach, then you're really fucking dumb. Because you've got all the taxi drivers, all the police there at kick-out time in the clubs, and it's a one-way road, so everyone leaving Clubland has got to go in that direction past where you're committing the crime. Now, I'm not having a go at internet sleuths.
Surprising. So if all people got to come out and go into one direction, how have they not got CCTV of Jay, Ayub? I mean, Ayub's wearing a pink t-shirt, so you can't miss him, bruv. Like, how have they not got these guys together walking towards the car or whatnot? Because if this was in Britain and the UK police had seen that, the media would have got the screenshot of that. They would have got a screenshot. It could have been a blurry one. It could have been a clear one. They would have had something proving that Jay, Ayub, and the crew were together, leaving the festival. Looks like they're walking towards a car, sitting on the wall, or just chilling around doing nothing. I don't know. But there's nothing. There's nothing. Jay just magically gets in this car, drives up to the mountain, and yeah, even a car that Mark Thomas told us Ayub was driving isn't the car that Ayub claimed he was driving.
I'm not having a go at the internet sleuths when they say this, but because they're not familiar with the territory, the landscape, and the areas, they're clutching at straws to try and work out. Do you know what? I really hope the internet sleuths go backtrack and get closer to the story and the truth, because we know it.
No, don't say that, Chris. Backtrack. It means these other content creators will be telling you, oh no, he's repeating the same information, he's repeating the same visuals, he's repeating the same footage again and again and again. No, Chris, don't tell them that.
I know it. The family know it. The police know.
See, this is another thing that he says. He says, I know the truth, the family know it, and the police know it. The family know the truth. Why would Warren put those videos out? Calling out the narrative. Come on, it's extremely grey. Can't confidently say you know the truth when you can't answer the question of why Jay didn't call none of his friends when he was at the Airbnb. Why did Jay get in the car to go with Ayub in the first place? Are you telling me that him and Brad had beef? Are you telling me that he had beef with someone at the accommodation to the point where he didn't want to go back to his own hotel? Because that could be the only other reason as to why Jay decided to go with Ayub to the Airbnb, because he had problems with someone. What else can it be? You're just telling me Jay was out of his face and said, yeah, Brad, here, take the key. You go back to the hotel. And what I'll do is I'm going to go to the mountains with Ayub and we're going to continue partying. Who would have told Jay that they were continuing to party? Who would have said that to Jay? Who would have said, yeah, Jay, we're continuing partying once we go home. Yeah, let's go and get some bottles. If Ayub and Rocky knew that they were going to sleep when they were going back to the Airbnb, then why didn't they say that to Jay and say, Jay, mate, I think you best go home because we're going to sleep when we go home. There's no party happening over here. But Jay went to the Airbnb under the impression that they were going to party. And then when he got there and then he realized they were going to sleep, he wanted to leave, but didn't decide to call Brad to say, call me a cab, or didn't call a cab himself, didn't call Brad's, didn't call Lucy, didn't call Brandon, didn't call his mom or his dad, didn't call his brother, didn't call anyone. Literally, he called no one. All he done was take a picture of the landscape, take a picture of himself in a blanket with a cigarette, no face, no case. Like literally didn't take no pictures of himself. No pictures of himself. And then just walks off. And then all we've got is affiliate saying, yeah, I see him walking that way. Yeah, he was walking that way.
Okay, but it's not what, it doesn't bother me. I know the truth now. I'm in a position where whatever I say will be twisted and bent because people don't trust it, not interested, or they're doing it for revenue.
No, not necessarily, man. It's just trying to make sense of what's happened. You said you know the truth will help us understand how Jay was in the state that he was in from that festival and made it all the way to the bottom of that cliff. Next step for Jay was falling asleep. It was conking out. There was no way he could have stayed awake for that long and continued to go on that walk. If he was in that state, which is a fact, he was in that state, by the time he would have got to the Airbnb, if he'd have got to the Airbnb, he would have fallen to sleep. He probably would have fallen to sleep in the back of the car. He would have been the one sleeping in the back of the car. There's no way he was in that state, falling over the place, knocking into people, looking like that, to then get into a car for a 45-minute journey and he's not the one sleeping. Then when he would have got out of the car, he would have went straight into the Airbnb, got onto the chair, fell asleep. There's no way he stayed awake that whole time, smoked a cigarette, took pictures of himself. Another thing I want to say is, where was Brad when Lucy was doing media? Lucy was doing that media for a whole day, speaking to various different journalists. She done the filming with her face off camera. Where was Brad at that point? Why wasn't Brad doing his interview at that point? Why did it take 2 weeks for Brad to come out and do his interview? To me, it was a strategic plan. It was like a game of chess. They held Brad back and then they deployed him at a later date after all the conspiracies had boiled up and names were being dropped in it and video footage was going around and things were being said about this person and that person. Once all of that reached boiling point, they brought Brad out. Brad just more or less shut that all down, gave Tom an alibi, and allegedly his head movement is what give Chris and his team the intel that he more or less needed to find where Jay was, even though the body still wasn't found until almost 3 weeks later.
Whatever the reasons are, it's irrelevant to me. But if they want to do justice to themselves, they're better off actually backtracking right back to the early facts. And
what are the early facts? Like literally, what are the early facts? We're talking about statements. I need to look at real scientific facts. What's a real scientific fact? Evidence, CCTV evidence to prove Jay come out of the NRG festival and got into a car. How can you not prove that? How is there no real webcam footage of Jay even in the Mascot area? You're telling me that Airbnb and the cafe and the bars and all those things don't have any CCTV. Only last bit of footage we have of Jay is when he's in the NRG event itself and he's with Brandon looking smashed out of his face. The Scottish guy comes out and said, yeah, he's the one that filmed that footage, and he see Brandon giving him a bottle of water. Brandon giving him a bottle of water. So Brandon was supportive of him when he was waved out of his face, but doesn't want to come out and make a statement. Or maybe was Brandon keeping him drugged through the water that he was giving him? It's funny because the footage that we've looked at progressively proves that Jay gets worse. So when you compare Jay's energy and the character to the rest of his friends, they clearly wasn't taking the same drugs, or they clearly wasn't taking drugs or taking the drugs that we think. So we can only assume that Jay was spiked, intentionally spiked. And that also correlates with what the waitress said, because she said she gave Jay a bottle of water because he looked unwell. How do you look unwell? 1 minute he's jumping over, dancing with Lucy and Lucy's friend. Brad and Brandon are talking in each other's ear. It's funny because we don't ever see Brad and Brandon talking to Jay. They're always talking together. Brad and Brandon always talking. In all the footage we see, Brad and Brandon, but you don't see none of them talking to Jay. But Jay's got all of this energy, dancing next to Lucy, dancing next to Lucy's friends. And all of a sudden, the next footage where we thought Jay was giving a bag away, he looks sluggish. He looks like whatever he's been taking is starting to creep in. And then in the third footage where it's just Brandon and Jay together, Jay's got no t-shirt on and he's out of his face, so waved. The next episode is where he collapses. It's the only episode. It's the inevitable episode. So show me where he comes out of NRG Festival and he links up with Ayub and he says to their man, yay, I want to go to the mountain. I want to go to the mountain. I hear Brad's, take the key, go wherever you want to go because I want to go to the mountain. Show me that. That's the facts. That's the scientific facts. I don't want to go off statements because that's not facts. I could give you anything and you could say, oh yeah, well, that's what he's giving me. It's a fact.
Story there because they've gone off on rabbit holes and now. So if you think you're going to get justice for Jay, you're so cold and you're so far off the mark right now than where you were probably 2 months ago. The way he presents, I love watching Harsh. Yes, he said some things about me, but he's made them based on the information he's got. I did reach out to Harsh because I genuinely wanted to collaborate with him. Why did I want to collaborate with him? Because I thought a lot of the questions he was asking were really valid. And I wanted to actually work with him so that together I could have been his vehicle on the ground here in Tenerife. I was hoping we could have come up with a list of questions. I could have been here on the ground. He and I could have worked on this project together and we could have come up not to answer the questions and solve this whole thing, but actually...
Well, that's the point. I mean, that's the angle that Harsh is coming at it from. I'm coming at it from. Multiple other people are coming at it from. They don't believe the official narrative. So if you want to connect with us and you want to try and get to the bottom of it, it can only mean that you don't buy into what happened to Jay leading up to him falling off that cliff.
With the questions that he had, which I also had and have, but with me being on the ground, we could come up with what are the options at each point. Turning back, going up, staying put. if you kind of get where I'm coming from. And I think it would have been a really positive thing to do. I did reach out to Harsh to do that. I probably reached out in the wrong way. I'm not a big fan of written text. I'm not a big fan of comments. And had Harsh have called me, I think it would have been a different result had we spoken. But it never worked out that way. It is what it is. He's made some mistakes, but so have I in this, to be fair. We've all been working off the information that we had. And I believe that both of us have been working with good intentions. So no beef with Harsh. He still makes me laugh, and I'll still watch his podcast because I actually think he's a really good guy. With Wax, things seem to have got a bit toxic, but not on my part. Yes, I did want to contact with Wax because Wax is a real hard-hitting, hard punching guy. He gets his message across, but I could see he was going off on a tangent, and I thought if we could have connected similar to Harsh, we could have worked as a team.
Now, me personally, I'm just debunking all the theories and all the narratives. I'm not putting out no conspiracies. I'm not even putting out theories. I'm just kind of putting out opposing opinions to the official narratives that have been given. So I can't be going off on a tangent. If you're talking about where I reacted to a medium, and I even told Harsh this the other day, the medium had an opinion. The medium had an opinion, which was interesting. It doesn't mean I believe in what that medium is saying. I am a platform which is going to share that person's opinion. I'm not going to block it. I'm not going to shout off and say, oh, yeah, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, because I know the audience on this channel is going to be also interested in hearing what this lady's got to say. So I shared her opinion via her video, and I gave a reaction to that. That's what it is. It doesn't mean I took it as gospel. It was interesting, and I wanted to understand it. I wanted to see if it did connect with any dots that we've already been putting together, but that's all it was there for. You have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes when we do videos, it's not just about doing the videos because we take it as gospel and we think it's facts or we think it's absolutely serious. No, it's all about perspective.
It didn't happen. Again, I'm regretful for that. The situation with Harsh is what it is. But there's no beef on my side. Life's too short. I've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing to gain and nothing to lose, because anyone with any authority in this case knows what I did, and I can prove everything. So I've got nothing to lose.
One thing I like what he said there is that Wax is hard hitting. He didn't actually discredit anything I said. He said I might be going off on a tangent, but it's about understanding the content. And when he says getting toxic, it definitely wasn't on my part. In fact, it was on his crew's part. It was his side chick that was getting toxic, making multiple videos about me. I just wasn't responding to any of them.
Joseph Morris, different animal altogether. He's a liar, he's a cheat, he's fabricated evidence. I don't believe a word he says. He's melodramatic. You can draw your own conclusions as to why. He's dishonest. And the people that are controlling him behind him, the scum of the earth. Thankfully, it's not in my hands. I don't have to do anything about it because higher authorities are dealing with that.
Oh, and that's probably one of the reasons why Joseph has not been releasing any videos of recent. This guy was active. He's disappeared. And I've also noticed that he's privated a lot of his Jay Slater videos that he'd done in the past.
11 True Crime should really change her name, because she can't get facts right. She can't even get the names right of the towns. When they're saying that Jay left when it was light, so why is Chris lying, saying that he would have known he couldn't make this road because he made it in the dark? Well, clearly you've not got your facts, because I was talking about the drive I did from Papagayo to prove the timeline. And I'm at the top of Santiago del Teide driving down into Masca, which is 5 kilometers, about 2.5 miles, whatever it is, at the time in the morning that Jay more or less would have done that drive in the car with Ayub.
Yeah, I remember that footage, but there was one other footage where Chris does claim, as he's walking up the road from the Airbnb, that Jay would have left when it was dark. And I do remember him saying that, but there's multiple people saying that it was dark. You got Ayub claiming that he was screaming Jay, Jay at the side of the mountains in the night. Even Jay's mum says that he left when it was night. You also got Brad saying that he was going to see him the next day.
With whoever else was in the car or not.
Whoever else was in the car again. So, I mean, to a degree, he is insinuating there could have been someone else in that car.
So you just get your facts wrong. But what you do is when you get your facts wrong, all your fans start screaming and think you're great, when actually anyone that knows anything about case just look at you and go, you're dumb as fuck, really, because you don't know nothing. I mean, you can't even get the names of the town right. Words matter. Yeah, words do matter. So get the names of the towns right to begin with, and then you might have some credibility. But everything you're putting out there, I mean, you're an absolute mishmash. You've got nothing. You can't hang your hat on anything that you're publishing. And to be honest, if you want to solve a crime as an internet sleuth, I would suggest go and work at a local restaurant or open a hairdresser's, or, you know, cut dogs hair, cut the nails or something, because you're no good at this.
Oh no. And that's a bit dark. That is a bit dark, I can't lie.
You're so far from the mark, it's laughable. But I don't want to, you know, insult you or embarrass you, because you're doing a good enough job of that yourself. Bobs and bits. I mean, the amount of messages I got when that went live, I couldn't respond for 4 days because I was rolling round, like literally trying to stop my ribs from breaking with laughter. I mean, this is a criminologist, forensic student, member of mafia or mafia connections. People are risking their life in Tenerife to tell him everything. Why would you tell him anything? If you're going to risk your life to tell someone something, you would hope that that person would keep it to themselves and put it in the hands of the authorities that could actually do something about it.
Logic.
This guy, you tell him something, first thing he does is get sniffed off his box, drunk out of his face, travels to the Balearic Islands and spouts a load of shit on fucking TikTok. I mean, if you were worried about your life, you should be if you're telling him anything. Okay. Well, what a joke. I mean, he does look like Orville, an emu. You know Orville, the little green thing with the nappy around him. I mean, Bobs and Bits just reminds me of Orville.
I took Bobs and Bits' video with a pinch of salt. The bit with the mafia didn't make any sense to me. I wasn't buying it. I even told him that. He tried to message me on TikTok. I told him that directly in a message. Soon after that, I realized that he deleted all of the videos that he had done on Jay Slater. And what didn't make sense to me is the fact that he decided to come out and say he's no longer going to be talking about Jay Slater because there's so much going around on the internet and you don't know what's true and what's fake. And I'm thinking, well, I thought you had a guy in Tenerife that was giving you accurate information.
He's a bit of a Walter Mitty. He seems to be, you know, a superstar in everything, master of nothing. Or a student of everything, master of nothing. And then, you know, he makes grand statements, comes out, and then realises what a prick he's made of himself and decides to fuck off the next week. So
the same with Dan O'Keefe. He come out and made a strong statement and made everyone feel some type of way, but then had nothing to back it up with. And since has literally just disappeared. Blimey, look at the sun. It has come through my blinds and literally just killed my whole set, more or less. Like, where's my light gone? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to put an end to this one. This video is extremely long. I never thought it was that long. So what we're going to do is we're going to react to the second part, and I'll drop that as a separate video. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Do subscribe to the channel if you are new. Turn your notification bells on, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.